Turn the page, live your life every day. Don't let anybody
Mike Mosby here. It's another
stand in
episode
your
of Whatcha
way.
Reading, Mike. And I'm just going to go over 4 books today that I've read recently. The first one is called And the Mountains Echoed. This is from Khalid Hosseini. Now, Khalid Hosseini is from Afghanistan. He lives in America now. He grew up in Afghanistan. But he's the author of the book The Kite Runner, which was a very popular book. I also read that one. But this one was a really good story. You should read all his books. I recommend them. They're very heartfelt. This one is very well organized. It goes through brothers and sisters who get separated and move to America, and some stay in Afghanistan, and what happens to people, and it goes over the course of several decades. The story's brilliantly written, very heartfelt, and just a really good book. Again, this is fiction, so I highly recommend this. I like to go fiction, non-fiction on my reading. This book is a few years old. This book, my next book, this one is even older, but it's called Blue Latitudes, and this is from Tony Horwitz, who is one of my favorite writers, and he writes about, I guess you could say he writes about traveling or historical travel novels. This is about, he follows the paths of Captain Cook back in the, I guess it was the 1700s, when Cook took 3 major voyages that took months, some took years, almost years, all across the Pacific. And there's lots of islands that he named because he was the first white man to be there. I mean, the natives were in there all the time. Of course, the Sandwich Islands were, quote, discovered by him, and the Earl of Sandwich was in Europe at the time, and that's, of course, Hawaii now. But he also went across New Zealand, a lot of the islands out in the Pacific. He did 3 voyages in the 1760, 1772, and 1776. And the amazing thing is he's voyaging around, he's British, of course, he's voyaging around the Pacific during our revolution, the United States, the American Revolution. If you like history, and if you like really well-written stories, this guy is great. Tony Horwitz, I've read a couple of his other books. It's called Blue Latitudes. Check out some of his other books, too. This book, Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. Now, I got to tell you, this book's been around for a while. I think it was first published in 2006, so it's 11 years old. And I found it at the bookstore, and then I found a paperback version that I took on vacation with me recently, and I said, I want to catch up. Everyone says this book was good. The movie came out. I'd never watched the movie. This is a fantastic story. It's very entertaining. It's a story about an older man in his 80s who looks back at the time that he was in his 20s when he was in the circus, and he joined the circus because of a tragedy that happened to him. It was around the Great Depression time. And if you want to know about the circus when they go from trains to city and what it was like in there, with a great narrative and a great story, you got to read this book, Water for Elephants. And there is an elephant, Daisy, that's in it, who is kind of one of the stars and heroes of the book, of the story. And it's also about reflection and aging and how you feel as you get older and you look back at how your life, could have been different, or how you wish that it was still the same way. And as things happen, you want to make different changes. Present. But I would check this one out. Sarah Gruen, Water for Elephants. I really love this book. Beautiful. The last book we're going to talk about today is called Born Round, and that's by Frank Bruni. Frank Bruni. He's a big time writer. He wrote the Washington Beat for the New York Times. He wrote a lot of different areas, and then he finally went to the food critic. He's a restaurant critic. I don't think he's doing that now. This book is a few years old also. But it's called The Secret History of a Full-Time Eater. Now, Frank was someone who was always overweight as a kid. I mean, you look at his little fat face here. Here's my favorite picture of him as a kid. He was just always a chubby kid, And he always liked to eat, and it's something that affects billions of people. Where eating food is doing it in a non-healthy way as a reaction to, adversity. People use food, and Frank, it's a memoir in a way, and he talks about his life. He talks about how he learned and has constantly continues to work on not using food in a negative way, and something we can all learn from. Food is something we need to be nourished with, but we don't want to gain weight from it, and we don't want to lose weight from it. We want to eat just enough, which is a lot easier said than done. It's very entertaining, and I would recommend it. I really enjoyed reading this book. So that's 4 books for Whatcha Reading, and a lot of these books aren't new. I don't read new books that come out because I'm not going to pay $35 for a new book. I go to bookstores, used bookstores. I buy them on Remainder. I go to thrift stores and I buy all my books on this beautiful book collection that's surrounding me, as you can see. We'll show you. You can see like right around me. That's a pretty good book collection right there, and that's just a small version of it. So that's what Mike's reading. What are you reading? Let me know. And I'll keep doing these if you want to see them, and I'll keep doing them even if you don't want to see them, because I like talking about books. So for the next episode of What You're Reading, so hopefully it'll come up in a few months. But let me know what you're reading. Let me know what you think of these books. And if you read them, let me know if you like them. And for more videos like this, check out my website, Live Life 365. Look at those books. And subscribe to my YouTube channel by the same name. Until next time, peace.
Live life 365.
What are you reading? Books? Okay, I like books.